Hello, everyone. Welcome to the International Medical Secrets Podcast. Today, we have a special guest. But first of all, I want to welcome my co-host, Jerry Manicrote. And then our guest today, we have Chris Sanders. We're going to be talking about someone that went from being homeless all the way to actually a manager at one of the largest pharmacy chains in the United States. So to kick things off, I want to go ahead and let Jerry, my co-host, introduce himself.
Hey guys, this is Jerry. I've been in healthcare for over 20 years now, so I'm looking forward to this podcast. And welcome, Chris.
Chris,
thank you. Very honored.
Absolutely, we're honored to have you. And for those of y'all that are listening, I'm principal manager director of Unbiased Data. Unbiased Data is a consulting firm that helps international medical manufacturing companies find clients in the U.S. But today's podcast is all about Chris, and we want to hear Chris's story because, and just so you know, initially I was on LinkedIn and I was on my news feed. Somehow Chris came up. I don't know if somebody liked or commented on his post, but it had this guy working out, very, very in shape person. And I read his post and I was really inspired by what he had to say about going from his journey of that difficult time of being homeless all the way to being a manager at one of the largest pharmacy chains in the United States. And also he talked about his struggle, some of the other struggles that he had at the time as well. But Chris, I don't want to steal your thunder. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, no problem at all, Gary. Appreciate you guys having me. I feel honored to be here. It's a little bit about my story. I grew up a single-parent household, bouts of homelessness, stayed in shelters, slept in cars, moved around a lot growing up. That single-parent household make the circumstances more difficult. I lost my mom to cancer at the age of 17. I was 17 years old, lost my mom to cancer, my only parent. So kind of had to figure out life on my own after that. A lot of struggles, but I wanted to make sure that those struggles didn't break me. And the reason why it didn't break me, because I always remember what my why was. My why is my mom. Being able to see her battle through cancer, and she was still, strong, even at a time where it was one of the toughest times in her life, she was still strong. And, at times when I go through challenges, I know that no challenge that I've come across can compare to what my mom faced. So I use that as my why and my fuel to continue to keep going and keep pushing and don't let circumstances, get me down. And I appreciate you checking out that video. And I was posting that hopefully just to inspire at least one person, one person to find their why and get over any kind of their challenge they're facing. It's currently at 2.5 million views.
Amazing.
I wasn't expecting that.
Wow. Yeah. Jerry, do you want to say something?
I was just going to ask you, first off, amazing story, and all of us could definitely learn from this. And so I salute you and your grit. That's basically what it is. There was a book and a TED Talk by, I believe her name is Angela Duckworth, talking about grit. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what you've shown here by finding your why, Simon Sinek, and establishing grit. My question to you is, what moved you, I think I know, but what moved you towards healthcare?
Healthcare is just helping people. I have a passion for people. Going through my struggles, there were times where people reached out to me and they were helping hand. And that's always been on my heart to, give back. So helping people, and I love being able to do that through the avenue of CVS, connecting people every day, helping them with their path of better health.
That's fantastic. And what direction are you looking to go? Obviously you have, your video has gone viral, and you have inspired tons of people through that. What's your direction? Any next steps?
Yep, definitely. I got my master's in business administration. I want to continue to move up and have a higher level of being able to help more people and impact more people on a grander scale.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Jerry, I was thinking about the same thing. Just as far as Chris, going from a point that was so low to a point where he's at now, I imagine you kind of you develop these habits and you just want to keep going and keep growing. And some people may get to your position and say, this is where I want to be for the rest of my career. But it sounds like you're ready to keep keep fighting the good fight and keep growing in your career. Is that right?
Yeah, as Jerry mentioned, it's all about that grit. Growing up in those situations, you recall being in situations where I cannot get comfortable. You get comfortable, you don't know where your next meal is going to come from. You don't know where you're going to be staying next week. You can't get comfortable. You got to continue to grind. So, with my mentality of being forced into that, this is a great position that I'm currently in. This is a position, as you mentioned, Gary, a lot of people would love to just be in this position, but I'm hungry to continue to grow and develop.
What would you say to people that are, they have this dream of getting into healthcare, whether it's on the pharmacy side, whether it's on the medical device side, whether it's in the service side, who are struggling to get in there and are just, they think they have the passion, but they're just not doing what needs to be done. What would you say to them?
To get into healthcare, I think that you can pretty much, if you have that passion, that desire, and you're having a hard time getting into it, just know that there's always doors that are open. You may be trying a certain door or a certain couple of doors that are closing on you. Maybe medical devices, you don't have the sales experience, or maybe pharmacy, you don't have experience with patients. There's always a way to get your foot in the door. As long as you continue to put forth the effort, you will find that door that will open for you, or you'll be able to get around that door. There's always opportunities. I think healthcare in America, especially, is one of our leading sectors. So there's always opportunity. So if anybody who's trying to find a healthcare role, whether it's medical devices or pharmacy, don't stop, don't give up, keep grinding. There's somebody who who is 1 degree away from your next role.
I think that's a fantastic mindset, and that's probably why you've been so successful. At least part of it is your mindset. I mean, some people they as you know, they find one door, they try to get through it, and they keep pushing against that same door or doing that same thing, and then they don't ever really innovate and think, well, maybe there's another door. And it sounds like your approach is if that first door turns you down, then on to the next one and look for another opportunity that's going to help you reach your goal. Does that sound right?
Yeah, definitely. As Jerry mentioned about the grit, like there's going to be things that happen. Like I know Jerry, was talking about my journey. I appreciate that, Jerry, but you have your journey. Gary, you have your journey. We've all come across a situation and where people have said, no, you're not qualified, or no, you can't do this, or you shared your dreams with somebody and they've laughed at you. But it's about, are you able to stand strong and to stay true and follow your passion, your purpose, and have that grit. So at the end of the day, we all have obstacles. We all have challenges. It's all about sticking it out and being able to fight and overcome those challenges.
Now, Chris, I mean, we hear about people all the time, like complaining about different things in their career or in their life that are affecting. And I imagine when you hear some of those things, you think about the struggles that you went through and you're like, man, that's not that big of a deal. But do you ever, during your journey and during those struggles to get to where you are now, did you ever reach like a low point where you're like, I mean, did you ever have a sense of hopelessness and then you overcame that? Or, I mean, what was that? What did that process look like? I mean, did somebody else influence you, or was that what drove you, I guess, is what the real question is.
For me, Gary, the hardest time in my life had to be when I got the call that my mom had passed away. I'm getting off my work. Mind you, I've been working since I was 9 years old. And as a typical kid, I was never one to work to be able to go spend my money on food, like random things. I used my money to help give back to my household, whether it was like, hey, mom, we can use this for groceries, or we can use this for, the light bill. So getting off of work one day, I got the call, my mom had passed away. And that was the toughest time of my life, the lowest point of my life. It's been able to, I don't know how I got home. I just remember, like, I got the call, and all of a sudden I was home. Just be able to follow through that process, the grieving, I just realized that my mom's legacy is in me. Like when people look at me, that's Marsha's son. I don't want to be Marsha's son, the criminal in and out of jail Marsha's son. I want to be the Marsha's son that he's striving, he's impacting the community, he's inspiring others. That's what Marsha would have wanted. I'm her legacy. And I take that wholeheartedly. Like when people, I see people do things like, a family member, you're cussing at their mom or yelling at their mom, like, hey, you only get one of those. Like, don't take that for granted. Food, I don't like this food. Hey, somebody didn't get a meal today. So just remember at that lowest point that at the end of the day, her legacy is in me, and I have to use that. I have to keep that at the forefront of my mind when I grind.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's amazing. And it sounds like your career hasn't really been about you. It's been about somebody else. It's been about the legacy of your mom. It's been, and then you had that vision, right? And then you talked about trying different doors. So you got that activity, you have that action. So, I mean, you hear about people talk about those things in different motivational books and things like that, but you lived it. And so I just think that's an amazing story. And the fact that you were able to do that on your own in the situation you were in. And I know me, so I grew up in a single household up until I was 10. And luckily I was able to move in with my father. But I know how it is. Usually if you're in a single mom household, you don't live in a very great community.
Right.
I know I didn't. And for you at 17, I imagine you were pulled in different directions. Like you probably had people around you that were trying to pull you off your path. How were you able to stay on that path and to get to where you are now?
Well, that's a great question, Greg. Like I said, I know you had a story. We all do, And for me, I didn't mention earlier. I grew up. I've seen people do drugs. I've seen people just sit on the porch all day and drink malt liquor. I've seen people sell drugs. I've seen people in and out the system. For me, it was always not wanting to be that person. My biggest thing was always showing kids that there's a different way. If you grow up in my community, you've seen people with the nice cars, the rims, the flashy stuff, and you're like, oh, if I sell drugs, then I can get the money and get the girls. Like as a young guy, it's like the main thing, right? Money and girls growing up. But for me, I wanted to always be that guy where I had this shirt and tie. Where people see me and was like, what, he's successful and he's professional. So my nieces and nephews, they see me, they like, hey, Uncle Chris, I want to be like you. Oh, Uncle Chris went to college. I want to go to college. Uncle Chris is a businessman, so I want to be a businessman or woman. Because they can see me and that's what they want to be. I don't never want my siblings or my friends to see the drug dealer aspire to be that person. I want to be the person that broke the mold.
I got to say, listening to you, it reminds me of another Christopher or another Chris, last name Gardner, the Pursuit of Happiness.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So much of that, a guy that went through so much disparity, but he rose up to be very, very successful. And it's not about, like you said, being a drug dealer or, a lot of people have that ambition to be now it's Instagram star or a movie star, a rapper or a sports or an athlete. You're doing it through hard work, with grit and preservation and education. I really, really, truly appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you.
The one word that came to mind about you, Chris, is leadership. I mean, everything you've talked about so far, now you're talking about leading by example, and I'm sure you're doing that at CVS now. And do you mind talking about that? I imagine your current role has a vision that's associated with it and helping people related to healthcare. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yep, definitely. I love my role at CVS. I love being on the front lines. Being on the front lines, I'm able to see customers and see patients when they come in and when they leave. I'm going to have that impact. You never know how much a smile can take somebody's day on a totally different level. So I love that. I work with a team with both our pharmacy teams, both our front staff team, whether it's helping patients get their flu shots or whether it's helping patients get their milk and eggs for the day. It's a beautiful thing. We have patients from all walks of life. We have people coming in and out the store. Some people, battling situations, and some people just coming in for the daily general merchandise. And I think it's a beautiful thing to see where you have patients who they're battling real life situations. They need their medications. They don't have their medications. Their time is limited, and they're coming in for their medications. But it's amazing to see people who have challenges with life, and their spirit is so positive. You would never know this person is a survivor or something for so many years because their attitude is just so positive. They appreciate the everyday because they know that not every day is promised. But I love working at CVS. I'm on the front lines. I'm able to impact people every single day.
Yeah, it sounds like based on your story from where you started to where you're at now, you're always looking for the good things. It seems like I mean, with the struggles that you see happening around you, you're finding inspiration from the good things around you versus focusing on the negative, which I think is phenomenal. Is in the health. So you being in the healthcare field now, have you seen any insights or trends happening in the industry overall?
Yes, sir. Definitely. And so Gary, so many different trends. We're trying to make it easier for patients. Like a lot of times people have the reasons why they can't do their medication. So we're trying to make it easier. So some people, transportation is a challenge. So I think in the medical arena, especially in CVS, we stepped up our game in regards to being able to deliver prescriptions to patients' homes. Able to save them that trip. We want to make sure people really have a healthy life. I believe that CVS is one of the leaders, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the whole thing that CVS took out tobacco products. We no longer sell cigarettes.
I didn't realize. Oh yes, I did read about that. Yes, I did. Yes.
And how much money was. There was so much money that the company said, you know what? If the money comes with ties of people hurting themselves and not being able to help them help their lifestyle, we don't want that money. We'll take a cut and know that we're able to impact more lives on a positive scale and be able to save people from buying those pack of cigarettes. But you know what? I love to talk to you about, nicotine replacement. Tell you about patches, help you, controlling your lifestyle. And one mom passed from cancer. We're talking had a conversation with somebody that's near and dear to my heart. But in regards to giving prescriptions to patients, taking them to their home, whether it's not selling cigarettes, I think we're trying to make it a one-stop shop. Like if you feel uncomfortable, you feel sick, you go to the urgent care. We're trying to make it to where you can come into a CVS and meet with our pharmacist, and it can be able to help you out to where save you a trip from urgent care, save you that bill from urgent care. We'll be able to get you not only in and out, but we'll be able to get you going back home with the prescription that actually helps you out with your situation.
This sounds so much like, having been in healthcare for a while, I'll tell you, this sounds so much like the old school pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, where you would walk in and you would have that relationship with the pharmacist and the store manager, and you say, hey, I'm feeling such and such today. Should I go to the emergency room? Should I go to the urgent care? Do I need to go to the doctor? You could say, well, it sounds like you have this. Why don't you talk to our pharmacist, and he'll be able to better judge what you truly need. They have the conversation with the pharmacist. Pharmacist says, hey, actually, you can get something over the counter right here that should tide you over if it's only going to last a couple of days. Or, hey, this sounds really serious. Go to the ER. It definitely sounds like that true relationship, that old school neighborhood pharmacy.
Jerry, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Jerry. So think about how many times people go to urgent care and then they're told that, hey, you only got to get this at the pharmacy. You're like, I just spent $50, $100 to come see you for you to tell me something. I should just went to CVS pharmacy. They would have gave it to me right then and there.
Excellent points, gentlemen. I know we just have a couple minutes left, but I wanted to thank our co-host Jerry, and I want to especially thank Chris for being on the show. This particular episode of International Medical Secrets will be on most major platforms for podcasts. I personally listen to Apple Podcasts, so it'll definitely be on there. You also see it on Unbiased Data's Facebook page, actually the live video version, and then it should be on LinkedIn and YouTube as well. So we'll try to put it out there for everyone to hear Chris's story, hear about how he overcame the difficulties in his life, and also the trends and insights that are happening in the healthcare field. And Chris, just want to thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Chris.
I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you guys. Pleasure to meet you guys. Look forward to staying connected. And remember, everybody has a story, and then also there's always something good going on.
Fantastic.
Amen. Thank you.